Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Malifaux. In this game I'm breaking out Lilith because I haven't played her in ages. And hopefully I'm going to get me some revenge on the gremlins that beat Yanlo last time. For terrain, these rocks are impassable of various heights. We've got severe terrain ruins, impassable terrain building, a wall, guess impassable little shack, or toilet, outhouse, who knows, and then I don't even know, we played that as terrain. Say severe. I won deployment and deployed my crew first on reflex. The wild guys like the opportunity to get into position first, but as my opponent doesn't have any From the Shadows models and he's going to need his gremlins around his master to do some summoning the first turn, I really probably shouldn't have done this. Oh well. So on the hunt tonight I'm taking Lilith. Naked but for her forests, which is just how us immature narrators like her. Doppelganger with Retribution's Eye. McTavish with Hexed Among You, Mr. Graves, Primordial Magic, and Performer. Just over here you can see my Wildgeist, there on the right flank, and on the left, another Wildgeist. The Gremlins are bringing the mighty Francois with Dirty Cheetah and Stilts. Someone doesn't want him to die. Skeeter, Slop Hauler, Bayou Gremlin, what's his face, Summertooth Jones, with Family Tree and Can of Beans. Something tells me there's going to be some flatulent skeeters around. A Slop Hauler, another Bayou Gremlin. And then over to my right we've got the Skeeter, Gracie, who's been saddled, and Bert Jebsen. When I was deploying, my plan was to get Lilith up into this kind of central building so she's got position to cover that central area, and I want her rooting gremlins near my scheme markers. If I get the chance, I really want to root Francois and stick some trees in front of him so just basically take him out of the game that way. Because that guy is lethal. I want Doppelganger and McTavish camping in this area early on, shooting things off for the squat markers, and trying to whittle down that tide of green that's going to be coming my way. Mr. Graves is going to go up a bit more aggressively and hold the markers in person, and I'm hoping between him and the Wildgeist I should be able to deny quite a lot of that central area. The Performer's going to help me position stuff, pull things off markers, and make them explode. So between her and the Doppelganger, I'm hopeful I can stop his line in the sand, and if I need to, they can run in and don't mind me to steal back any squat markers that fall out of my possession. Last but not least, the Vomit Worm is going to lurk at the back, giving me cards until it's time to run forwards and become a scheme marker at an opportune moment. The problem is my opponent has deployed rather cunningly. Both flanks are pretty meaty, and if I split up to try to deal with them, we'll either wipe each other out or he'll overpower me. And by turn 2 he's going to have a second crew's worth of goblins. Anyway, if I go for his centre, his flanks will score all the points, or I'll just arrive there piecemeal and get annihilated. So a tricky decision, and at this point I'm really not sure how I'm going to deal with it. But I'm sure I'll come up with something, so into the first turn we go. And yeah, happy with that hand. It's so nice to be playing Lilith with her card tricks. As gremlins go through their spawning processes and go defensive because they're terrified of their own shadows, Doppelganger and Mr. Graves get Lilith and McTavish up to their central positions. Doppelganger walks around here and drops a scheme marker as well, and the Performer pulls her across. Because at this point I'm thinking, if I can get her over around here and maybe have McTavish here, I can shoot Gracie. But it's never going to work because he'll just hide behind the building. And it's me just tripping over my own feet already. I like where Mr. Graves is. He can charge anyone going for this marker and can walk around and grab that next turn. A little bit later I'm fully activated and he hasn't even got around to moving his flanks yet. McTavish ate the scheme marker, drew me a 13 of rams actually, that was really nice, and then found he was in range to just walk up and grab the central marker. Lilith went post-haste afterwards and put the trees down. McTavish is tough, but I've got a very healthy respect for Som'er's Boomer. Assassinates in the pool, and I don't want to commit Lilith too far up too early, so I walk her out, place a scheme marker, and walk her back. Gracie tows Bert up, and the gremlin shoots my tree for 1 damage. Gracie then reactivates, but finds she can't charge the Wildgeist, because the latrine is blocking her base and she's only got a 1-inch melee. So the extremely grumpy pig moves up as best she can. And I know my opponent's pain for really annoying positioning mistakes like that. On the other flank, Francois and his buddy swagger up, and I don't like that at all. So that's how we end things turn 1. Going into turn 2, look at that hand. That is a Lilith hand right there. I kept my 2 high cards for the first turn, and I drew the 13 of Rams with McTavish. And with the help of Lilith and the Primordial Magic and a Soul Stone, I end up drawing 10 cards and discarding 4. And I predict this turn is going to be quite fun. Gracie goes right off the bat and takes a chunk out of my Wildgeist, but it's still standing. And obviously she reactivates. The Wildgeist goes, trying to slow her, but I can't manage it. I think I put 1 or 2 damage on her. So she's looking really manageable right now. Unfortunately, she reactivates and chomps down the Wildgeist. I really tried to save it, but to no avail, and she heals back up to full. I hate it when she does that. But now that she's reactivated, I put my fiendish plan into action. It occurred to me towards the end of the first turn that I'm playing Lilith. I don't need to split up my forces, I can bring my enemies to me like a spider with shooty boomerang webs. Now Gracie's a willful beast, but she's no match for my red Joker, and Bert can't believe his eyes when his porcine lover is transformed before his eyes into a burly Nephilim bartender with a big lump of wood. I had to move out of the house just a little bit to get into range, and so with my last attack I wallop her with a sword for 2 damage. My final act is to move my illusionary forests over here. On the table next to us was a very knowledgeable player of Malifaux, and at the beginning of the game we were chatting, and he happened to mention a true disgusting thing you can do with Lilith's forests. Namely, you can put them over markers and stop people interacting with them, because it's like when you put a model over a marker. They block line of sight to it, and they've got height. And this has got to be just about the most obscenely grimy thing I've heard yet that you can do in Malifaux. I can't really believe it's legal, but apparently it is. And I figure that, some of my viewers are probably the despicable enough types to want to see it done, so I flush my honour down the toilet. And for you dear viewer, I block off this marker and become a total dickhead. I've got all in the time in the world for Gracie, so Mr. Graves goes when he next gets the chance, takes the squat marker and drops a scheme marker here. Because I'm a compulsive plonker, and putting it here would have just made it too easy for myself. What a moron. Gremlins are busy spawning and healing themselves, so whilst they're at it, the performer moves Doppelganger along, back into position so that she can mimic McTavish, and then when she next gets the opportunity she goes for Gracie. I was going to focus, mimic, get the trigger and shoot Gracie, probably getting a straight flip for a severe, which would take her to hard to kill, and then I can finish her off with just about anything else. But I suddenly got gripped by the fear of what if I flip the Black Joker for the mimic? I'll be totally screwed. So I reckon if I do fail, at least I'll have 2 actions for a Doppelganger to get over here and take this marker or something. So I don't focus, and obviously make the mimic just fine. I decide not to cheat my 11 of tomes for the trigger, maybe a mistake. Take a shot at Gracie and do 2 damage. My next shot does 4, taking her to her hard to kill. Suddenly a Skeeter buzzes in from nowhere and stands on my scheme marker, trapping McTavish in combat. Which could have been a pain, but it turns out that McTavish's crocodile has a really long snout, and he was engaging Gracie anyway. So the croco chows down on Pig, chows down on Bug, drops his hunting screen to give me lots of nice cover around this area, and is happy and surrounded by delicious corpse markers. I was really hoping my opponent had taken Gracie as the bodyguard target. Francois just does too much damage to himself to be sensible, but although my opponent was pretty butthurt over the loss of his pig, he wasn't quite gutted enough to suggest he had bodyguard. What could he be trying to do? This is how we end the turn. The Gremlins have dropped some scheme markers over here, they're starting to move up a little bit cautiously in the centre, and Bert has popped his Reckless, come over here, claimed the squat marker and then ran back. And thanks to Lilith's shenanigans, the Neverborn score his turn and the Gremlins don't. Turn 3, my hand's still rocking because it didn't actually take me too many cards to pull off my stunts. And yes, I realise there's only 5 cards. I quickly relearn preschool maths and put the 6th one back in my hand. And it's time for some idiocy. I cheat the initiative, even though there was nothing really pressing that I wanted to achieve. But I'm worried I don't have enough scheme markers down. So I get my Wildgeist to walk up to Lilith's trees and drop another scheme marker here. I don't know what I was thinking. The Wildgeist being here was tying down a huge section of the board where he can't drop any more markers for his line in the sand. It's protecting the squat marker. I have already dropped a scheme marker here, and if Francois wants to come round through the forests to get to him, he's then in range of all my shooters, who've got nothing better to do than turn him into paste. So this was a Class A dumb decision. To no one's surprise, Francois murderises the tree with a cool 10 damage and falls off his stilts. I'm such a fucking idiot. But fear not, there's plenty more stupid where that came from. Mr. Graves walks around and hits Bert for a considerable amount of damage, and now I'm really worried about getting Tavish out of Som'er's sights because fuck no, I'm not taking 8 damage. So Lilith wasted an action just positioning a little bit better. Tangle shadows the Skeeter and swaps it for McTavish. On the good side, I've locked down this section of the board. I've got my bodyguard target to the safest, most defensible part of the board, and he's up far enough to score bodyguard when the time comes. On the other hand, I've given up the entire of the centre of the board. My opponent now has all the space he wants and needs to coat the place in scheme markers and take all the squat markers. And all I've got is my little girls to prevent him. So in hindsight, I'm really not very happy with the way I played this. I'm sure there's something I could have done better. But in all the excitement, I forget to use Lilith's last action to kill the Skeeter. Why must I play with my head up my arse? As we continue, Bert's rage at the fate of Gracie defies self-preservation, and he ends up killing himself on Mr. Graves' black blood. I did point out that Mr. Graves has hard to kill, but my opponent would not be deterred, and Bert goes to join Gracie in that pigsty in the sky. Perhaps my opponent just wanted to guarantee the kill on Mr. Graves, and perhaps get Bert out of a position where he might be giving up points. Who can say for sure? So by the end of the term, som'er has gone, shot Mr. Graves, who exploded spectacularly. McTavish was caught in the blast, but Soulstone to prevent 3, and then healed himself back up to full when he pushed up to eat the Wildgeist's corpse. He shot twice at the lowly bear gremlin and did fuck all. What the hell is going on? The gremlins spill forth and steal my squat markers, take away my scheme marker and drop scheme markers of their own. The girls do me proud, the performer goes ahead and grabs me this squat marker, and the doppelganger can't quite make it to this one, so she drops a scheme marker instead. So now I've got 1, 2, 3 gremlins in range of my scheme marker, well probably even 4 in range of my scheme markers. But I forget to declare plant explosives. What the fuck planet do I live on? I can't believe I forgot that. It's still making me mad, and I've had plenty of time now for counselling genetics testing. I realised just after we flip initiative for the next turn, and I'm just kicking myself. I mean, it's not as though I've disguised what I'm doing. Fuck's sake, I'm so stupid. But we go forth. Lilith and the Primordial keep my hand looking beautiful, and I'm saving all my stones for damage prevention now, as I reckon I'm going to start to need it. God, I love Russian magic. If Lilith's trees make me feel uncomfortable, then her silky, silky hands make me feel all warm inside. Freudian slip there much. Okay, so it's time for a little bit of desperation. The performer double walks into Summerteeth's engagement range. All I'm trying to do is waste his activation so he can't shoot McTavish, or just go killing the rest of my crew for that matter. She survives the charging slop hauler, but Summerteeth takes her down and turns her into a pig or whatever his attack does. And that's just completely peachy. I really thought I'd just wasted my model there for a second, but it worked out. So as soon as I get the opportunity, Doppelganger skirts around the gremlin and drops a scheme marker right in their midst. But because I'm in possession of vast quantities of stupid, I forget to use her zero action to give negative flips to melee, so she's left to face a marsh full of gremlins with a towel. The way things end up, Lilith roots these 2 gremlins down near my scheme markers. I shift the forests over here to protect my remaining squat marker, well, remaining central one, and McTavish is guarding the other one. The Skeeter's farting away on Lilith and I just don't care. In desperation, I run the Primordial Magic into the midst of these gremlins. I'm gonna get those points. Somewhat to my surprise, he doesn't really go after the Primordial. Francois legs it all the way over here, cutting it a bit fine if he's going for Assassinate. I had wondered if he was going to plant evidence, especially when this gremlin moved here, but, you know, it's not seeming to do that either. What could he be trying to do? But let's just take a minute to appreciate this. The doppelganger, covered in tasty slop, charged and pushed around by a piglet. And my opponent was really kicking himself for this. The way he charged, when he got the trigger, he had to push her closer to Som'er and still guarding her marker. If he'd gone in differently, he could have pushed her away. Little mistakes like these. Finally, a Bayer Gremlin charges in and still can't take her down. He's doing like 1 damage a time. You frickin' go, girl. So yes, at the end of the turn, pretty much every single model in his crew is in range of one of my markers. So I score 3 points for plant explosives. And my opponent also reveals plant explosives. It's only the most obvious scheme in the pool. Why didn't I see it coming? And all this game I was thinking that peons don't count. But it turns out you score from any model, so my primordial magic sat in the middle of a load of his scheme markers, gave up 2 points. I don't know why you guys watch this, I don't know what I'm doing. But at least I remember to declare bodyguard this turn. We go into the 5th turn, I forget to take a picture of my hand, but it doesn't really matter. It wasn't bad. Francois charges Lilith, misses her his first hit, hits her for some damage with the second hit, and her blood kills the skeeter. That's what you get for farting at a lady. Doppelganger blends in and goes double defensive. McTavish drops his markers for extra cover and goes double defensive. And since neither of us can really do anything to score any more or deny any more points, this is where we call it, and it's the end of the game. Final scores. My opponent got 3 points for squatters' rights, 2 points for plant explosives, and 3 points for line in the sand. Well done, that man. I felt sure I was going to stop that. Lilith scored me 4 points for squatters' rights, 3 points for plant explosives, and 3 points for bodyguard, making the game 10 to the Neverborn, 8 to the Gremlins. What a cracking game. So very nearly threw it away. And if it hadn't been for that illusionary forest trick, I certainly wouldn't have won. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this crew as a core for a squatters' rights strategy. It's got a lot of tools and it's quite easy to swap in and out models for certain schemes. Need to get a little bit more used to the playstyle of Lilith, meaning I don't have to spread my crew out to deal with threats if I don't want to. So yeah, it's just a bit more practice needed. som'er is a real handful, and I was really lucky to get away with this game. I mean, my hand was insanely good all through the game. In retrospect, I'm wondering if a hyper-aggressive approach isn't the way to go. Perhaps I could Woldgeist bomb him in the first turn and slingshot an eternal bad juju. I don't think I can really do something like that with my particular crew build. It's possible I could get Mr. Graves up to try to take out the Bayer Gremlins, but really I think he's just gonna withstand it and then heal up and destroy me. So not sure, gonna have to think about this. But lessons learned. Kidnapping important enemy models to come sit in the middle of my crew is quite good. Giving up the centre of the board when someone's got quite a lot of centreboard strategies and schemes is pretty bad. And I've got to get better at masking what schemes I'm doing. With just some very minor tweaks, I could have made it look like I was doing plant evidence or even line in the sand. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Really good game. My opponent was just a bit unlucky not to take home the win here. Oh, and Lilith trees are fucking incredible. And I really hope that is a legal move. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Take care.